My mom, sister, brother, husband, and in-laws have been planning a trip to Thailand for the past 18 months, which will take place in 3 months. My mom and I are going for 17 days, and my husband is going for 10 days. This trip is primarily for my mom's 60th birthday and my 25th birthday, which occur in the same week. I have been the primary planner, but my sister has also been helping. My sister, the dog, and her husband all live in California, but are British. So far, only myself, my husband, and my mum have actually booked to go. Yesterday, I expressed concern to my sister and mum that nobody else had booked, yet my brother and his wife have managed to plan and book a skiing trip for January. Whilst this was dismissed, my sister sent a message after my concerns were said in the Thailand group chat, happily saying that because she can't go to New Zealand now for 3 months, because the dog failed the guide dog exam, and my sister does not want to put the dog under stress by putting them in the hold and does not want to quarantine her in NZ. Instead, she will be starting the Thailand trip early by going to Thailand at the end of January until the end of March. She mentioned that the dog will be with her on the trip, and therefore the dog will be with us on our family holiday. She never asked and just assumed this is fine, as we can make adjustments, and it is not too much different from organizing around a baby. She seems to think we will make it work. I have concerns for many reasons. She never asked us if this was okay. She has stated it as a fact that will be happening. The dog is a Korean Jindo who has been rescued from a dog meat farm. The dog has many issues that have not been trained out of her, primarily guarding food and attacking dogs. As such, our dogs in the family, there are 3 of them, cannot eat in the same room as them, can't beg for food from the table, or have treats in front of her, or they will be attacked. One of the family dogs has already been attacked in this way. The dog is prone to violence. She has ended the life of a cat in France. She has hospitalized another cat, which came into the garden in England. She has attacked another family dog as above, and she has attacked other dogs in California. One needed veterinary assistance. She has even started to attack a dog she was friends with in California. This is what we do know, but very likely there are more instances. You may ask, why not muzzle her? She does have a muzzle, but it is not all the time, and she gets it off. My sister also feels guilty putting the muzzle on her. The dog cannot be left alone. If the dog comes on the trip, she will be with us, or my sister, all the time. When left alone, she is destructive. She was left alone in my flat in England and ripped up one of my doors, but I was never told this behavior would happen. This means there are places and attractions we simply can't go to because we have a dog with us. One of which is the Khao Sok National Park, which we were planning to spend a few nights in. Thailand is a rabies country with parasites and pathogens that can be dangerous to animals. I think it's so irresponsible to bring a pet into a situation like this, especially because my sister doesn't like to quarantine her dog when coming back and forth between countries. This could harm her own dog and other animals in different countries. There are territorial dogs all over Thailand, and if we cannot leave the dog at home, there will be fights. This is likely going to be distressing for the whole group and my sister's dog. I can almost guarantee there will be fights when out with the dog because of the nature of my sister's dog and the nature of street dogs. It is irresponsible to put a pet in this situation. I believe for the above reasons, it is selfish to the family and cruel to her dog to not pay to board her in a safe environment where she doesn't have to be on a plane at all, like we have for our dogs, regardless of if it is in the hold or not. I have had enough of my sister being selfish with the dog and not taking responsibility for her dog's actions and what the consequences are for everyone else. She treats the dog as if it were a guide dog, taking her all over the world, and even tells restaurants and such that she is a guide dog so she can bring her dog wherever, when the truth is she is an untrained and dangerous dog. As a result, I believe that the trip will be ruined by making this trip all about the dog and whatever nightmares await us on this once-in-a-lifetime trip. I have spent so much time researching and was so excited to go, but now I feel it is ruined. If I express my concerns to my sister, I do not believe she will come on the trip without her dog, but I do want my sister and her husband to come. The dog is like a baby to my sister, and the dog cannot do any wrong in her eyes. If I do cancel, I believe my family will say I am overreacting and being dramatic and selfish. However, I know from experience of planning and going on a trip with all of them, except the dog because she wasn't in the picture at the time, to Japan, it was already overwhelming and stressful, and I can't imagine how much worse it will be with a pet. I feel mostly sad for my mum. This will be probably the last long-haul trip she will go on as she doesn't travel well, and she was excited to spend her big birthday with her children, one of which has not bothered to book on yet. She also does not know what to do in this situation, as she wants to make everyone happy. I don't feel like I can manage my mum the entire time on a trip to Thailand on my own, and would prefer to rebook and go somewhere else with her that is less stressful and more of a resort type if nobody else comes, and or the situation with the dog is likely to occur. I also feel sad that my sister has been in California for so long with no plans to come back to England. She didn't even come back for Christmas this year. And I have noticed over time, she has become a more selfish person, which is too long to put in this post. This assumption that we will all be okay with her bringing her dog on this trip has gone past a point I am okay with. I just wanted to go on a holiday with my whole family and make memories together, something we haven't done in years. Would I be the idiot? Edit, sorry for the confusion. She is not a registered guide dog. She somehow is a service dog in the USA, but I don't know how she got it. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Thailand does not recognize international guide dog or service pet criteria, and as others have mentioned, there is a ban on dogs entering the US. Your sister may be forced to leave the dog or be rejected at customs from being able to enter the country. Any pets, and again, Thailand does not recognize service or guide pets, especially ones without proper papers, have to have the accompanying import permits. Your sister is an AH for faking service guide animal qualifications, especially as she has a dangerous animal. And it may be worth reminding her that the police there are not like the police in the US. They will 100% euthanize any violent animal, and she will likely face criminal charges should anything happen. Comment 2. Not the idiot, but I wouldn't cancel yet. I would also ask in the chat what her plans for the dog are, for when the group has planned to go to the list of places pets are not allowed and documentation claiming ADA is required. Be specific and be prepared to provide links. You mentioned several attacks that include the state of California and the ending the life of a cat in France and a vet trip in England for another. I'm not going to pretend to know the laws in France or England. But why hasn't anyone pressed charges on the dog for the attacks and possible vet bills, injuries in California? If this dog is that violent, why has this poor training gone unpunished? Now for the update. Hey Reddit, back with an update on the family trip to Thailand, and oh boy has it been a week. Remember how my sister decided to bring her dog along? Well, things escalated quickly from there. First off, my brother finally booked his trip, but not without drama. Turns out, he and his wife had been having marital issues, which is why they were stalling. They're now coming, but it's like walking on eggshells with them. Every conversation is a potential minefield. Now, onto the heartbreak. My husband, who was supposed to be with us for 10 days, dropped a bombshell. He confessed that he couldn't make it to Thailand at all. His work needs him for a critical project, and there's no way around it. I was devastated. This trip was supposed to be a celebration of our milestones, and now I'll be without him on my 25th birthday. But wait, there's more. My sister's dog situation has gone from bad to worse. After our last conversation, I thought she understood my concerns. Nope. She doubled down, insisting that the dog would be fine. She even had the audacity to suggest that we should all pitch in for a private villa to accommodate the dog's needs, as if the dog's comfort was more important than the rest of the family's. The tension reached a boiling point when my mum tried to mediate. She suggested that maybe the dog could stay in a nearby pet-friendly accommodation. My sister lost it. She accused Mum of not understanding her bond with the dog and stormed off. Mum was left in tears, feeling like she was losing her daughter over a pet. And remember the dog's violent tendencies? Well, my sister casually mentioned that the dog had another incident. This time, she snapped at a neighbor's pet. My sister brushed it off, saying the other animal had provoked hers. But it's clear she's in denial about the danger her dog poses. The group chat has been a war zone. My in-laws, who've been silent observers until now, chimed in. They're concerned about their safety and the potential for the dog to cause an international incident. It's not just family squabbles anymore. It's about legal and ethical responsibilities. Amidst all this, I've been trying to salvage what I can of the trip. I've spent hours on the phone, adjusting reservations and trying to find compromises. But with every change, the trip feels less like a celebration and more like a chore. The final straw came yesterday. My sister announced that she had booked the villa, with or without our approval. She expects us to cancel our existing arrangements and join her there. She's made it clear that it's her way or the highway. I'm at my wit's end. I wanted this trip to be perfect, a chance to reconnect with my family. Instead, it's tearing us apart. My mom is heartbroken. My brother is distracted by his own marital problems, and my husband can't even be there. And through it all, my sister remains oblivious to the chaos she's causing. I'm starting to wonder if this trip is even worth it anymore. I can't imagine how we'll navigate 2 weeks in Thailand with all this baggage. And with my husband out of the picture, I feel even more alone in dealing with it. So, Reddit, that's where I'm at, a week in, and I'm questioning everything. The excitement I had for this trip has been replaced by anxiety and dread. I just wanted to create happy memories, but now I'm not sure if that's possible. Mother-in-law sneaks into my daughter's room on Christmas, ignoring our rules. We consider cutting her off, but karma has a twist in store. My husband and I have 2 young children. My parents made arrangements to take vacation time to fly from out of state and visit us and the kids for Christmas. We have a small apartment, so they decided to get a hotel. My mother-in-law lives an hour away from us and invited herself to our house for Christmas morning. We didn't want her to come because she causes drama sometimes, and this was special time I wanted to spend with my family. She has some strange quirks about her and has started fights during get-togethers and holidays before, but I said yes because I didn't want to be the bad guy and exclude her. Since she lives an hour away, she never wants to come over for a day visit and always whines and cries to stay the night. We don't like inviting her for overnight stays for a few reasons. One is that she overstays her welcome and she never knows when to leave. She has a way of displaying affection sometimes that can make others feel uncomfortable. And my husband says that she's always made him feel uncomfortable about how she tried to push her physical affection onto him. She was also left abandoned by her mother from age 3 to 6 and has disclosed she was molested then as well as other times by uncles in her family. This is relevant because recently it seems she has developed an obsession with sleeping in bed with my 2 children, and it's giving my husband and me major child toucher vibes. We do not allow this with our children for several reasons. My husband and I do not co-sleep with our children and never have. I would have loved the opportunity to do this, but everyone around me told me it was unsafe to do that, and I could unalive my babies in their sleep by accidentally suffocating them. Now that they are older, they are completely used to sleeping in their own beds. If one wakes up and comes in to sleep with us, it causes the other one to get jealous, and it disrupts our entire routine and makes it harder to get them to sleep in their own beds again. We also don't want to risk them getting sick by sleeping right next to a visiting grandparent. My youngest daughter, who is 5, also still has accidents in her bed. We also want to teach them boundaries with their bodies and don't feel that it's appropriate to arrange for them to sleep with another adult when they don't do it with us, as that might make them very uncomfortable, and they may have trouble expressing that at their young age. If, when a child wakes up in the middle of the night saying they can't sleep, we usually walk them back to their beds and help soothe them back to sleep in their own beds. And my mother-in-law has asked, and she and my husband have already had this discussion before, and she says that it's okay and normal in her culture for family members to sleep with the babies. but he tells her we are not comfortable with it, and they have 4 sets of grandparents. And they don't do this when any of the other grandparents stay over. Yet she continues to ask, and my husband will tell her, no, you will sleep downstairs, or you can sleep on the couch, and not give her any room for further discussion on the subject. During Christmas, she waited for an opportunity to corner me when I was by myself. She said, "Oh, so your daughter said she wasn't having accidents anymore." I said she does still have them on occasion, but she has been doing so much better, and I was really proud of her. A couple of moments later, she asked about whether my parents were staying at a hotel or with us. I said they were at a hotel. Then she says that she brought her air mattress, and she was really hoping that she could have the kiddos sleep with her on her mattress, with her just one time. I said, sorry, but we don't do that with them, and none of the other grandparents do either. She asked me again, and I said, no, we aren't comfortable with them sleeping with other adults as it disrupts their routine. She then goes, okay, I guess I'll just wait to do it when they're over at my house then. I did not respond to her since I didn't want to ruin my Christmas. I told my husband about the conversation later that evening when we were getting ready for bed, and he was livid. He also said he saw her follow our daughter into our son's room and close the door. So he ran up to the door to eavesdrop and overheard her asking my daughter if she wanted to sleep with Grandma. He barged in and escorted her downstairs. But this would have been after the conversation she had with me. The next morning, my daughter woke us up saying she had a nightmare and slept with her grandma. Her grandma said she kept her in bed with her because she didn't want her to wake anyone else up since it was around 5 a.m. in the morning. My husband and I feel we cannot trust her anymore and that she has a complete disregard for our wishes as parents. She also keeps trying to kiss everyone in our family, including me, on the lips. I give her my cheek, and she moves to kiss my lips. I watched her chase my son around the apartment on Christmas because she kept saying, "Kiss me on my mouth," and he was running away from her because he didn't want her to. Am I the idiot for wanting to go no contact with her for a while after what she did and how she undermined us as parents in our own house? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. The woman repeatedly told you she is going to sleep in bed with your children, whether you like it or not. Repeatedly crossed boundaries physically with you, your husband, and your kids in front of you. And you allowed her to stay in your home overnight because you didn't want to be the bad guy. Well, congratulations, you are officially the bad guy. Talk all you want about how you've told her no if it makes you feel better, but in reality, you let someone you knew was dangerous stay in your home and harass your children. You're the idiot 1000%, and I hope you learn from this and protect your kids from now on. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your first mistake was letting her come in uninvited. It's like gremlins. That first mistake quickly snowballs into a Christmas disaster. We're done having missing stares at family functions. We're not inviting creepy relatives over and keeping an eye on them. Sorry for what happened to her, but she's not your priority. Your kids are. If you keep allowing her access, your kids will pick up on the lesson that even when people make us feel unsafe or uncomfortable, we have to keep them in our lives. We do not. Now for the update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I'm still reeling from the events of the past 3 days. After the Christmas morning incident, things escalated quickly, and I'm left feeling both outraged and relieved. The day after Christmas, my mother-in-law, let's call her Linda, showed up unannounced. She claimed she forgot a gift for the kids at our house. My husband, who we'll call Mark, was at work, and I was home with the kids. Linda's unexpected visit was odd, considering she usually complains about the drive. I let her in, and she immediately started fussing over the kids, hugging them a little too tightly and for a bit too long. It made me uncomfortable, but I didn't want to cause a scene. While the kids were playing, Linda pulled me aside and said she felt hurt by our rejection of her sleeping arrangement idea. She insisted it was a cultural thing and that we were being too Americanized. I reminded her of our house rules and the importance of respecting our parenting choices. She seemed to accept my explanation, but there was a glint in her eye that told me she wasn't done pushing the issue. Later that day, my parents came over for dinner. They had heard about the Christmas drama and were concerned. My dad, a retired police officer, has always been protective of his grandchildren. He pulled me aside and said he'd keep an eye on Linda. I was grateful for his support. The next day, Mark and I discovered that Linda had left her air mattress in our living room. Mark was furious. He called Linda and told her to come and pick it up. She arrived and an argument ensued. Mark confronted her about her behavior, and Linda broke down, crying about how she felt abandoned by her own mother and how she just wanted to be close to her grandkids. It was a tense moment, and I felt a pang of sympathy for her, but our children's safety was our priority. That evening, after Linda left, Mark and I talked about setting firmer boundaries. We agreed that Linda needed help, but we couldn't let her issues affect our family. We decided to limit her visits and make it clear that overnight stays were off the table. The following day, things took a shocking turn. My friend, who we'll call Sarah, called me. She works at the local school and had overheard a disturbing conversation between two teachers. They were discussing a grandmother who had been seen trying to take a child out of school without permission. The child had been crying and didn't want to go with the grandmother. Sarah's heart sank when she realized they were talking about Linda and my daughter. I was horrified. I immediately called Mark, and we rushed to the school. The principal assured us that Linda hadn't taken our daughter, but she had indeed caused a scene. The school had our strict pickup instructions on file, and Linda wasn't authorized to take our daughter. They had called the police when Linda became belligerent. When we got home, Linda was waiting for us, furious that the school had called the police on her. She accused us of turning everyone against her. Mark, usually a calm man, lost his temper. He told Linda that she had crossed a line and that we needed a break from her. Linda left in a huff, shouting about how we would regret this. The next morning, we woke up to find that Linda had left a series of apologetic voicemails. She was begging for forgiveness and promising to respect our rules. Mark and I were conflicted. We wanted to protect our children, but we also knew Linda was struggling with her past traumas. We decided to seek advice from a family therapist. The therapist suggested that Linda might benefit from professional help to deal with her abandonment issues, and that we should maintain our boundaries for the sake of our children's well-being. As for karma righting all wrongs, the subtle way it happened was through Linda's own actions. Her attempt to take our daughter from school had alerted the authorities to her erratic behavior. They reached out to her, offering resources and support for her past traumas. It was a wake-up call for Linda, and she agreed to seek help. My ex tried to gaslight me into believing he needed money for rent, but I knew his toxic games. I laughed as I watched him play the victim. My savings were proof of my hard work, not his to squander. I am a 37-year-old waitress at a tourist trap in town. I love my job. I typically make $150 or more a night, but have made $300 to $550 on exceptionally busy nights, events, nearby concerts, and entertainment on site, because the owners at the restaurant are also event managers and bring lots of business. My now ex-boyfriend Gary, who is 39 years old, hasn't been supportive at all. He said something a few months ago that offended me, and I told him, things are no longer the same between us. He's not supportive because he's kind of mad that I have a career as an executive and thinks this job isn't up to his level. Ever since I announced that I would be cutting down on expenses, Gary has been nagging about me being cheap and exaggerated. As a backstory, I did have a 9-to-5 job, and I left it years ago to launch my own business. I'm a business owner now, and things have worked out. I completed all pending client projects last September and have signed an agreement with a handful of bigger companies, so I'll be basically working on a retainer. I'll be back to work in January. My waitressing job has allowed me to earn good money without getting mentally drained. I needed a wellness pause. Please let me add that Gary has a humble family background, and so do I. Snobbish comments about my side job are not going to erase that. I'm currently making 6 times what he makes, because in all these years, the promises we made about building a future, came down to me sucking it up and working my butt off as he made excuses for being unsuccessful. My coworkers hate me and are blocking me. I got passed over for a raise. There's favoritism. He never finished a course, never wanted to pay for anything to improve his education. And then I found out that he lied about his social sciences degree and his master's. I felt horrible because he lied from the start but still tried not to judge. So I'm also learning to just enjoy the money that I'm making after years of restraining myself. Gary has been asking me for help since he lost his job. I'm fed up. His reasons aren't clear. He just said his boss saw him as a threat and he suddenly got fired, but refused to go to a lawyer. His brother told me the other day that Gary loves to sleep in late and that he can't count on him for anything because he's lazy. This caused aggravation for me as we don't live together, but I felt like now this? His brother says Gary has always been like this, and he's a liar. This year, he's asking me to buy his kids presents for Christmas. I didn't agree. He said he knows I can afford it, literally texted me, "I know you can afford it," after I said, "It's not going to be possible. I don't want to do this," because he's been criticizing my side job, and it feels wrong to let him benefit from it. I said I will always give them a gift from me, but nothing more. I will not buy a batch of gifts like I'm their Santa Claus or on his behalf. I can't describe my rage right now. His face kind of contorted, and he made a huge silence and looked down to the floor when we had a face-to-face conversation about this, like when someone is extremely angry or offended. I gave him an ultimatum. He can't be jobless by next week. I can't do it. I need to know that I have a partner who works as hard as I do. Then I started thinking harder about this. I've had the same complaints for years. He's very unstable when it comes to holding a job, and all his reasoning sounds like a fantasy to me. Maybe it's because I learned that he lied about his degree that I have a hard time trusting him. I called him yesterday and ended the relationship. I know I was abrupt and maybe guided by my rage. When he tried to pressure me, I told him to sell all his hobby stuff. I also opened my eyes to the fact that I've always bought presents for his kids, and he hardly ever gives mine anything. It's not about the gifts. It's basically about, please don't pressure me when I don't ask you for things for my children. He called yet again, saying that I think I'm better than him, and saying things towards me, flirting my way into big tips. I work at a family-oriented restaurant. This is very offensive. I reminded him of his blue-collar family background and asked, where is all this snobbery coming from? I just wanted to make him think harder before opening his mouth, but his voice was shaking, and basically he said he wanted to self-harm. I'm worried now. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. He's a manipulative, lazy man. It seems like he's always relied on others for support. It's not the children's fault that their dad is lazy, and it's sad to imagine kids without Christmas, but he needs to learn to provide for his family. Edited to add, not the idiot. Comment 2. Not the idiot. He is your ex and a grown-ass man. You are not obligated to take care of him or his kids, especially when you guys are broken up. Block him if possible. Now for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a month since I last posted about my ex Gary, and a lot has happened. I wanted to give you all an update because, well, things took a turn I didn't expect. First off, after I ended things with Gary, he started bombarding me with calls and texts, trying to guilt-trip me into taking him back. He even showed up at the restaurant during one of my shifts, making a scene in front of customers. It was embarrassing, but my manager had my back and asked him to leave. Now, remember how Gary always complained about his job and how he was treated unfairly? Turns out, his brother wasn't just spilling tea when he said Gary was lazy. I bumped into one of Gary's former coworkers, and she told me the real reason he got fired. Apparently, he was caught stealing from the company. It wasn't just a one-time thing either. He'd been doing it for months. The company didn't press charges, but they did let him go on the spot. As for me, I've been keeping busy with my business and the waitressing gig. The restaurant has been booming with events, and I've been raking in the tips. It's been a great distraction from all the drama. But here's where it gets juicy. Gary's been struggling to find a job, and without my financial support, he's been forced to downsize. He sold his car, some of his hobby stuff, and even had to move into a smaller place. I guess he finally realized that he couldn't rely on me to bail him out anymore. And the kids? Well, I did end up getting them some Christmas presents, just like I said I would. But I made it clear to Gary that it was from me, not him. I wanted those kids to know that someone cared, even if their dad was being a deadbeat. Now the confrontation. Gary cornered me after my shift one night, begging for another chance. He said he'd changed, that he was sorry for everything. But I've heard that song and dance before. I told him that trust is like a mirror. Once it's broken, you can never look at it the same way again. He didn't take it well. He started yelling, saying that I was heartless and that I'd regret this. But I stood my ground. I told him that I needed a partner, not a project. And with that, I walked away, leaving him standing there in the cold. But here's the subtle justice part. Gary's been trying to live off his charm for years, thinking he could skate by without putting in the work. Now, he's had to face the consequences of his actions. He's had to actually work for a living, and from what I've heard, he's finally landed a job. It's nothing glamorous, but it's honest work. And me, I'm doing better than ever. My business is thriving, and I've even started seeing someone new. He's kind and hardworking, and he respects what I do for a living. It's still early days, but it feels good to be with someone who supports me. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.